So we're going to go through the barbell row, and then we're going to go through a dumbbell variation if you don't have a barbell. I'm going to show you with an empty bar first, just so you can see a little bit more of my body. You'll see when I put plates on it, it obstructs that a little bit, but I'll show you some real reps with some real weight after we go through the demonstration. So as far as where you're grabbing the bar, I want you to grab the bar at just outside hip width, very similar to where you'd grab the bar for an RDL. And so for me, there's like those little grips, the little knurling on the bar. Right where that starts is a pretty good spot for me, but I'm just gonna walk up to the bar, have my hands outside of my hips like this, and go down and pick up the bar safely like this. Now, I'm going to do or get into a very similar position as you would in order to do an RDL. You're essentially holding the bottom position of an RDL and doing rows. That's essentially what you're doing, and so that can help you get into position. I think about it very much exactly the same way. I'm hinging my butt back, bending the knees nice and soft, getting to a position that I can get to with a neutral spine. And so I want you rowing from the lowest position you can with a neutral spine. And what that means is, for me, that's right about here. If I try and go any lower, my back rounds. For you, that might be right here. But what I will say is 99% of the time, the biggest mistake people make is they use too much weight and they don't get into a deep enough position. You can use a lot more weight if you stand here like this than if you get down here and you're rowing here. And so 9 times out of 10, the critique that I'm giving someone is to lower the weight and lower their torso. And so I want you to experiment maybe with an empty bar or while you're warming up during intro week, whatever, finding that position where you are at the bottom of your RDL with a nice neutral spine, knees bent. Now from here, you're going to pull somewhere between your belly button and your sternum, somewhere between your belly button and your chest. For now, it doesn't need to be any more specific than that. Pull to a spot that feels comfortable for you between your belly button and your chest. Now, as you can see, 2 things are happening. One, I'm pulling on a slight diagonal, right? The bar is moving a little bit out in front and I'm pulling back on a diagonal. I'm not pulling straight up like this. I'm pulling on a slight diagonal, and that is something I want you to do. Second, you'll see that my body sits up a little bit as I pull on each rep, and watch that here. As I pull, my body sits up a tiny bit, and that's okay because what I'm trying to do is really pinch my shoulder blades together. Now, a little bit of that is going to be okay, but if you're just using momentum to lift the weight, I'm going to tell you, you probably want to lower the weight. And so a little bit of torso movement like this as you're going through full range of motion, really stretching here, really squeezing here is okay. But if I see people doing this where it's like, that's like some weird CrossFit-y thing that really doesn't help anybody. Now, if you're using dumbbells, the form is exactly the same. You're gonna grab your dumbbells, you're gonna get into that bottom position of the RDL here. I like to have my hands on a little bit of, let's say, a semi-pronated grip on a slight angle, which is nice. You can do that with the dumbbells, right? With the barbell, you're kind of fixed in this pronated grip position. With the dumbbells, you can use a semi-pronated kind of angled grip, and it tends to be quite comfortable. And so that's what I recommend going with if you're using dumbbells. You're gonna hinge back, get into this position, and you're gonna row up, driving the elbows out and back. Now, before I show you some reps with some actual weight on the bar, I just want to say that yes, there's a lot of people in this group that are super duper strong, but I recommend that you just start really light. Some of you guys shouldn't even use the regular 45-pound barbell. You should start with potentially a preloaded bar that you have in the gym that's 20, 30, or 40 pounds. If you're at home, yes, of course, you're kind of limited. You don't have those, so start with just the bar. But I'll say just the bar is no joke. And so please, start on the lighter end, use perfect form or near perfect form here, and let's progress as we go. This isn't an exercise where we can really afford to kind of bullshit our technique because we are loaded in the spine, which again is totally safe and totally fine. Just do it well with good form, nothing sloppy, not too much weight, etc. So here are some reps with some real weight, and I'll let you guys get started.